We are behind Conneaut Middle School, and there is an outdoor, what's it called?
Learning Center.
Outdoor Learning Center, kind of a nature trail here. And how did this all come about?
It all came about from a brainstorm idea that Janet Grout in the Jefferson Area School District had, that she wanted to implement behind her middle school and elementary school. And she called and asked for help. And we got hers in place and got it up and running, and the teachers loved it and utilized it. And I thought, well, if we could do it in Jefferson, why can't we do it here in Conneaut? So I got a hold of Ken Houston, and I asked him what woods they owned and if it would be feasible. And he said they own a ton of it out here. So he suggested I go put a proposal together and go to the school board and ask for their blessings. And I did that, and they were behind it 110%. And it just snowballed from there.
So what is your background in all of this?
Well, I became an Ashtabula County Master Gardener in 1993, I believe, or 2003. And I've been involved with the woods. You know, we had a cottage on 400 acres of land, and I've been out in the woods all my life, and I love the nature and the wildlife of it, and the flowers and the trees and such. And I just sort of ran with it. You know, I read a lot, and I went to college to major in horticulture, and I just sort of ran with it from there.
Yes, what's your role in all of this?
Well, I'm the one that does the guided tours for the nature trail.
Is this elementary students or just anybody that wants to?
Anybody that wants to have a personal guided tour.
Inside the mailbox, we have a list of all the different numbered stops of what the tree might be, if it's a scarlet oak or a maple or hornbeam. Everything you'll see is numbered back there if it's not identified with a plaque. You know, we have plaques that we use for sometimes wildflowers show up in certain times of the seasons, and then they transfer to a different habitat in different times of the season. So we're able to move that plaque from site to site, whereas the trees are pretty much permanent, and we gave them a permanent number.
So did you set all of this up with the numbers and all?
Yes.
How long did that take?
Probably a year and a half. You know, we've been in business now for about 3 years, and it's still evolution. It still changes. Every spring, every fall, something changes, and we just keep up with the times and move right along with it.
So you can't ever say, "Well, I'm done."
No, it's not a. There's not a final There's not a final stage to this project. Okay, here we have our temporary markers that we can move around as the seasons change, and all along the trail.
That's jewelweed.
I'm sorry.
Jewelweed.
Jewelweed, yes. And all along the trail, you'll see these flags. And the flag is always on the right-hand side of the trail. So if you get off course, look for an orange flag and turn and put that flag on your right-hand side, and you'll be able to follow the trail right along. Not only do we want to identify the trees and the wildflowers, but we want to identify the oddities that you find in the woods. And here at number 5, we have a birch tree growing inside of a tulip tree. And those trees have to be 25, 30 years old, you know, and they've merged that way for years and years and years since they began to grow up, I would imagine. We also have this woods area used to be a pasture land, and you can tell by the barbed wire that the farmers used to hold their cattle in or their sheep in, and they used to nail them just to the trees. Well, as you can see, this one, the tree grew out around the barbed wire, and it ended up killing the tree. It gets into the phloem and the xylem, and it killed the tree, but it's still standing somehow. But that's the way the farmers used to, rather than putting individual fence posts in, they used the natural trees that were already there. So that's kind of a neat oddity.
So when would this have been a field?
Probably back in the 30s, from what I understand.
Here we have the Bracken Fern. The reason they call it the Bracken Fern is because it splits off into three spots here, and
Cleveland Museum of Natural History has been out here 6 or 7 times, and they love the area. They find something new on the rare and endangered species list. We have 3 different items on the rare and endangered species list. Plus, they suggested that we put in the screech owl nesting boxes and flying squirrel nesting boxes, which we have right here. Now, most of our nesting boxes and our benches are sponsored. And this one is sponsored by a good friend of mine who is a breast cancer survivor. So she sponsored this flying squirrel box, and you get not only identify what you're sponsoring, but you also have who is sponsoring it. We're in what we call the Amphitheater right now, and this is where the Learning Center got its name, was because of this open area where we could put these rows of benches for the teachers to do presentations, or guest speakers to come in and do presentations to the students or the public, however it works out. And there's plenty of room. We can seat around 4 per seat, and we have approximately room for 32 people to sit. And it's technically called the Turkey Knob Amphitheater, because every time we came out here we found turkey feathers in this specific location. For some reason, they just love hanging out here. They love hanging out here, yeah. And the trail right now is a half-mile long, and as we go down through this valley, we have it sort of laid out where we can put in another half-mile loop. And that's in our next plan, is to finish this half-mile loop. And we have a lot of habitat identified. There's a stream down there with little fishes in it that we can identify. There's a group of rare and endangered species trees down in there, striped bark maple. There is there's an artesian well coming up out of the ground down in there that we want to highlight. There's just a neat additional walk that we can add to the trail. So we're still in progress. It's always
How is it all funded?
Well, we do 2 major fundraisers a year. We have what we call Discovery Days, and it's going to be August 2nd this year. And it's where people come out, and we have a Chinese auction. We have refreshments for sale. We have T-shirts for sale. We do donations.
That's here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be right out in the parking lot. We have a DJ coming this year. We have what we call Wing Fest. Last year was the first year for our Wing Fest, and that was a great success. The vendors had a good time with it, and the people that went around participated had a good time with it.
And when is that?
That'll be in next February.
Okay.
Right after.
Oh, this is where it's at different restaurants.
Yeah, you travel to we had 8 different vendors this year, and you visit one at a time, go to the restaurants, and then you vote on what you feel were the best wins. And it was a good time. We raised almost $400, which funded our next work session coming up.
Now, as this is being recorded in middle of June of 2014, you have a work session thing this Saturday, June 21st at 9 a.m.
Correct.
So tell me what that's about in case people want they can come out and see the facilities and maybe help out.
Right. What we're going to be doing is we have stone to be spread. We have mulch that we want spread around. We have some hand railings that we're going to be putting in. We have some signs that we need to put in. We have bluebird boxes that we want to get cleared out around so that the chipmunks and squirrels can't climb up and get into the bluebird boxes and damage the nests. These benches are concrete benches. They look like wood, but they're concrete, and they need re-stained, and we have some brand new ones that need stained for the first time. And just a lot of light work. And there's going to be lunch provided. Phil's Catering is providing lunch. Dairy Queen is providing us with dilly bars. The Chris Breck State Farm Insurance is providing us with volunteer t-shirts.